Awesome. Yeah, so my name is Malik Kasem. I've known Sean for probably 4 years now. And you know, I'm a broker, and I just like a lot of you guys, I saw him off Instagram, and I think one day I gave him a load, and then he connected me with like a bunch of drivers, and really that's through him is how I learned a lot of stuff about oversized loads and all those sorts of things. So I'm a freight broker, and you know how many people know what a freight broker is here? Is there anyone that you guys? So some people don't. Okay. So it's just the middleman between people who got to ship stuff out. We got manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers. All these people make products and they got to ship it out. But it's the middleman between them and the truck driver that actually moves it. Where basically we plug up the truck drivers with business. We provide you guys with business, and in turn you guys help us move our customers' freight. So we need you, you need us. It's reciprocal. It's a good relationship.
And a dispatcher can be in the middle of that as well, right?
Yeah. Dispatcher and broker. It's a little like a broker could be a dispatcher can't be a broker.
Right.
The dispatchers basically take loads from brokers and they give them to their drivers.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't really do the work of like the cold calling. They can still make good money though. You can make like 10%. I think is standard off a load. But yeah. Yeah, it's still a lot of work though. All of it takes work and time. I'll start off, how I became a freight broker. Funny enough, I was in nursing school. I went to Towson. I did my 2 years of undergraduate, and then I did 1 year of nursing school. It's 2 years, so I got 1 year left. And I always had a friend of my father that ever since I was 10, he'd be like, hey, you'd be such a great freight salesperson. You should join my business. Trust me, you'll never want to be a nurse ever again once you get into this industry and you see what it's like. And one day I decided, like, hey, I'm gonna save up some money. I'm gonna take a year off, pay off my loans. And I took my dad's friend out, up on the offer. I'm like, hey, is this still open? He's like, hell yeah. And I started. My first day, I had no idea what was going on. This man, he wasn't really the best English speaker. He was from Palestine. An immigrant, and he wasn't really able to train me. He just passed me like a little folder with it was like a brochure basically, and like the first line it said, hey, we are an asset-based carrier and a freight brokerage. And he said, whenever you make cold calls, just read that off to people. And I'm like, okay, I had no idea what I was selling. I didn't know what the business was about, nothing, no training, nothing at all. He just said, call people and eventually you'll get business. That's what I did, and he gave me, ideas of what to do, like how to find people who to call, and I just went with it. I blindly went in it, honestly. I started calling people, and I was so worried, my first few months because I wasn't making any money. And I'm like, damn, I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna get screwed. And he would always tell me it's got to be consistent. Even though you're not getting results now. If you keep that same mindset and you stay consistent, you're gonna get business. It is. It's not. If it came easy, then everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be making a lot of money doing this. But you gotta. Really, consistency is the key. It's not just calling people and going out there. It's following up with these guys. It's being consistent. So after 3 months, I started feeling more comfortable. I started. So I was getting paid $15 an hour. This was back in 2019. That was $600 a week. So my beginning goal was, hey, I want to at least cover my salary so these guys aren't expensing me out every week. So I got a good customer after 3 months that was giving me at least $600 a week. So I was a little more comfortable in my mindset. I'm like, okay, I'm not really not an expense for these guys anymore. I'm starting to make them some money. Now I can sort of level out and really start increasing where I am. I got one customer, I'm paying off my salary. That's good. Now I want more. And I proved to myself I can get one person. That's really all you need. You need that one solid customer just to show you that your work wasn't for nothing. And it does happen. You can't let one bad call or 20 bad calls or 100 bad calls let you down. You're gonna eventually come across someone at the right place, right time who's gonna give you business. It's just a matter of time.
One thing, everybody got paper right here. Can y'all write y'all questions down? So, because we got 3 speakers. And then after he do his presentation, so we can ask him all the questions, because I got questions as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and I already answered this. How long did it take me to get business? It was 3 months. 6 months is when I started to surpass my salary. I started getting about, like 2,000, or like it was like 1,500 net profit per week. And net profit is just how much my customer is paying me to do a load versus how much I'm paying that driver. So I was profiting about 1,500 to 2,000 a week after 6 months. I think I had like 4 or 5 customers at that time. I was really starting to feel good. I'm like, you know what? I might stick here. And why is this industry good? What makes it good? Well, for me, I the same rules I applied to wanting to be a nurse, I applied it to freight brokering. Like, I wanted to help people. I want to help my customers. I like the relationships I have with people. I like the relationships I have with my drivers. That's why I'm here in the first place, because I know Sean. And that stuff at the end of the day, it feeds my soul. Like, I like having a direct impact on people. And I like people having a direct impact on me. I like those relationships. I like how we can all help each other and grow. I love it. And yeah, so that's why I want it. And in terms of why I'm sticking with it, it's the freedom, because I'm an agent. I'm a 1099 agent. Sean was going over it briefly, but I don't get paid a salary or anything. I work from home, and if I don't want to work one day, I don't got to work. But I'm not going to make money, so I don't got anyone yelling at me, "Hey, you got to show up for your shift" or anything like that. Like, I can do what I want, but at the end of the day, if I don't work, I'm the one that's getting screwed. So it's incentivized. The more I work, the more money I make, and I love it. It pays very well. There comes a point where you get too much business where you can't handle it on your own, and you're going to need to scale your business. So really, in this industry, you start making the money when you start thinking like a manager. You can't just be an employee or an agent. You got to start thinking like a manager. Like, okay, I got a lot of business. I'm making 70% profit on my loads in my pocket. I'm going to pay 30% out to hire dispatchers and people to help me so I can bring in more business. That's when you start making a lot of money. On your own, you might make like 150, 180, maybe 200, but you're not going to be able to generate more business. You got to scale it. So yeah, you got to think like a manager or like a boss, really, to scale that business and make more money. And freight brokering business is huge. It's big. Right? In the U.S., it's 18 billion right now. It was 15 billion last year, and as the population goes up, people are always going to be wanting to ship stuff, and population goes up, there's more people wanting to ship stuff, and there's more work for us, more loads, all that stuff. It's going to keep growing. There's always the need to move stuff. So yeah, expect it to grow 8% per year for the next 5 years. It's gonna keep growing. It's like the healthcare industry, sort of. It's never going away. Okay, I already went over a lot of this stuff. Like, what is a freight broker? Middleman. Now, a lot of people, if you're selling something, you got to know why you're selling it. Like, why are you necessary? When you're calling people, you got to know that you're important, right? So, shippers, aka the customers, they need us because they can work directly with the truck drivers, and a lot of people ask, why don't they work directly with truck drivers? They can, if you have a routine lane. Let's say you're a customer and you got a load that picks up every Monday out of Richmond, Indiana, and it delivers to Jessup, Maryland every Monday. And you got this local trucking company. They got 20 trucks, and you put them on the load and you just give them direct freight. It'll work well because you got something consistent. But a lot of customers, especially the ones I have very versatile needs. One day they might need a pickup out of Ohio. They might need a pickup out of California. They might need to switch their pickup location from Ohio to California last second. Or they might have really time-sensitive things like trade shows, delivering to trade shows. There's very strict times, and if a truck breaks down, if you're working with asset base, not all the times can you recover that load. So you need someone versatile. Rather than going to one trucking company that has 20 trucks, you can go to a broker that has access to thousands, tens of thousands of drivers all over. So if stuff goes bad, truck cancels on you, all that stuff, you can rebook the driver. So you need someone versatile that can meet all of your needs. Does anyone have questions?
I got a question.
Yeah.
You said it's never going away, which I agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it'll become completely automated at some point in time, like they're talking about with trucks becoming completely automated? which I don't think is going to happen.
You mean drivers, like self-driving trucks without people needing to be in them?
Well, that's what they're pushing towards. So if that's the case, do you think the freight booking process will come completely automated, where it won't need a human being or as many?
No, but this stuff always surprises me what people can do. I don't think so, because getting customers and all that, it's really just relationship. It's emotional, and you can't take that over. That's why cold calling is the best way to get these people over emails. You gotta, you gotta make these contact with people. I don't think relationships are ever gonna go away. I don't think that's something that can be automated.
Right.
Everyone has the need to talk to someone else and build relationships, and I can't see that. I can't see us being robots, you know.
Right.
So yeah, did I answer your
Yes.
question?
Yes. No.
Yeah. Yep.
The question I would have for you, why should I become a freight broker instead of like staying on the truck driving side?
Well, I mean, how do you feel about being on the road? It's really a question for you. Like, truck drivers make great money. Excellent money.
They do.
Yeah.
But the reason I asked that question because from what I'm gathering from what you're saying, because you said it yourself, it gives you like more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And with truck driving, especially if you're driving over the road, if you're not local, you're trading that money for a lot of time that you're giving up on the road. So that's what I'm gathering from you. So is that basically gonna be answer my own question, or do you have any more?
This is definitely a lot of time. I work some hours, some weeks 40 hours a week, some weeks 60, 70.
Mm-hmm.
I am home though. That's one benefit. Especially if you have a family, you want to be around. I'm going to be getting married, soon, and
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And my wife and I, we're going to be home, and or at least I'm going to be home, and I'll be around if she ever needs me. I work out of my basement right now, so I'm there.
And that's what I was thinking about, because it's like, I see what you're saying, because as a truck driver, it's good money, it's real good money depending on what you do, but if you're saying like you can make as much or more money, working from home and just, playing the middleman, that sounds good.
Yeah, it's definitely solid. I would recommend it. It doesn't come easy, just like driving. It's not easy. It's, there's no feeling like sleeping in your own bed. That's what I hear from a lot of drivers. Gotta make money somehow. You have a question?
So, when it comes to being a broker, how does that play out if you are given loads to drivers, and those drivers don't meet the requirement of your customer?
Well, what do you mean, like being on time and stuff like that, or? It depends how well I know the driver. If they've never messed up for me before, I'll give them another chance. If it's my first time working with them and they come super late, they never told me, they never communicated anything with me, or even if they communicated it honestly and they're extremely late and they got no good reason, I won't work with that driver again, and I will try to consolidate that relationship with my customer and let them know. Once I've fixed the issue, I'll let them know, this will not happen again. Because really, at the end of the day, the most important thing is your customer. That's the one that you cold called for. So it's really, I likely just wouldn't work with the driver again, or I would make things clear. Because before I book a load with them, I'm like, listen, if it's 9 a.m. sharp appointment, you gotta be there at 9 a.m. sharp. So if they don't follow certain things, it's sort of like a lack of respect for me. Like, why'd you show up late? Hey, if you had to go, if someone passed away or something like really serious happened. I understand, but if you can't tell me something good, then I probably won't work with you again. That's just how. Hopefully, that's not too hard, but you gotta have some sort of structure. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Partly.
What was I missing?
My concern is financially. How does that affect you if your driver delivers a shipment late? How does that affect you? I mean, relationally, it affects you because their product didn't arrive where it was supposed to. But financially, do you cover the cost of the late shipment?
Sometimes, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes. It all depends, but yes, sometimes it really all depends on how close I am with my customer. If I don't want to lose them by asking for money because our driver was late, I'll pay for it. But if I know my customer, actually most of the time I'll pay for it. If it was the driver's fault for being late, I'll either pay for it or I'll dock from the driver. It all depends. But a lot of times I will, to avoid hassles, I'll pay it out of pocket. just to keep my customers. At the end of the day, I might, lose money on one load, but I'm looking at the long term. If I can keep a customer for 5 years, just to pitch in an extra $500, I'm willing to do that. It's all an investment. Just like me cold calling without making any money at all. I might not make money after 100 cold calls, but if I'm doing this for 6 months, I'm eventually gonna make, some money. So it's not always, you don't always get the gratification you need right now. It's all about thinking long term.
And just like you just said, you want doctor driver.
Yeah.
So you gotta pay out of pocket, but you gonna get it back.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I'll dock the driver.
Right.
Not always I dock the driver. Yeah. It depends. But yeah, a lot of times I'll just pay out of pocket just to avoid conflict. I won't work with you again, but I'm a pay out of pocket for this. That's what I do. I like to be fair. Yeah.
You said it took you 6 months to get your first customer. Then when you had 4 to 5 customers, you was doing 15 to 2,000 a week.
Yeah.
How did you get your first customer? And if you were making 15 to 2,000 a week, how much was the actual brokerage you're making off of those 4 or 5?
That's for the brokerage. That was the net profit. Yeah. So
Okay.
my first customer was after 3 months. Really, that was my first, and that's where I was making like 600 a week.
Right.
And after about 6 months, I had it was like 4 or 5 customers, and my profit was about 2,000. It was 1,500 to 2,000. So the actual brokerage profit was 1,500 to 2,000 a week. I was getting a cut. At the time, I think it was like 5% of that profit or 10%. Honestly, it was a long time, but.
How much time out of your life did it take you to manage those 4 or 5 customers?
It all depends on how much they had, because I'm the kind of guy, I don't really move a lot of volume, but the volume I move expensive stuff. So, so I'm trying to, I had enough time to build more business. So I had, like on an 8-hour day, I might spend like 2-3 hours actually booking loads, and then like 5 hours cold calling, getting more business. My peak was about 30,000 net profit every month. So that was about 7,500 a week. At that point, I had no time to do cold calls, no matter what. Like I was spending time booking trucks about 6 to 8 hours a day. So literally my whole day, and
That's 75 profit.
Yeah.
After that's the commission that's left your net.
No, net profit for the brokerage is 7,500 a week.
Right.
So had I been an agent at that time, making 70% of that, I'd be getting, what is that, like almost $5
grand,
$5
somewhere
grand a week.
around
So
there.
at my peak, the point where I would need to hire a dispatcher, and I didn't because I was working under someone else's salary. I'm like, I'm not gonna make you more rich. I want to have, this is not my book of business, But yeah, 7,500 a week for me was my peak.
With how many customers?
It really varied, probably like 75, maybe 50, 75. Yeah. Bread and butter ones, 10, 15. Side ones like LTL, small jobs, maybe like 30, 35. But the small ones really add up though. I was making money off the small ones.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say probably about 50. Yeah, 50 different customers. Yeah, 50, 75. It's a gray area, but yeah.
Like us being beginners, like just if we wanted to get into it, what would be a good place for us to start? Like maybe to learn about it, or we had to try to find somebody that does it, or is it a school for it, or how does that work?
I personally think unless you got a lot of money saved up, the best way to start is working under a salary for like a mom and pop brokerage. Like a small brokerage. That's where I started. Only downfall of that is you might need to sign a non-compete agreement or a non-solicit agreement. So all that business you're getting is really not yours, because if you get fired or if you leave, then you can't take that. You can't take that business with you basically, unless you want to get sued. Or
So there's really no way to start out like by yourself, because I guess if you don't have anybody, or it's kind of hard to oh look, I'm gonna just start out like by myself and get my customers and build it up like that. It's really kind of hard to do it like that. That's what you're saying.
You mean without getting paid a salary or having money for yourself in the meantime? Or
I guess I'm sort of saying that because I'm guessing what you're saying is with the mom and pops, they already have like kind of like established established brokerage, whereas you starting out just nothing.
Yeah, well that and if you got a lot of money saved up, like honestly with cold calling, I learned all that stuff from YouTube. I self-learned everything. Yeah, you can look up freight broker cold calls. There's a few videos. I was honestly thinking about making some too and recording my calls, but I don't think you can record calls in Maryland. I think you need two-party consent.
But starting on your own is kind of like costly though, right? Because you gotta have a bond and all that stuff.
I honestly don't know too much about having your own company. Because I'm just an agent. I think the bond is $1,700 a year.
The bond is $75,000 a year. Back when I first did it, it was $10,000 a year. That's the coverage. It's gonna run you about $1,500 to $2,000 to purchase it for the year, and some companies will break it up into installments. So you got to get your motor carrier number, just like a trucking company, which would be an authority.
Right?
And then, the bond is the insurance.
Okay.
So that's the difference. Instead of getting insurance, you like with trucking, you need 100,000,
Right.
auto, and 1,000,000 auto liability. But with the brokers, you need 75,000.
Those customers that you're working with right now, you have a contract with them? They
No.
can walk away from you so they can walk away anytime?
Yeah, but that's why, like I was saying, sometimes I'll pay out of pocket just so I can keep them, you know? Like, I try to do everything I can, especially the first times I'm working with them, I'll babysit them. Like, if they have a strict pickup time, I'll let them know. Like, as soon as the driver arrives for pickup, I'll send them an email or I'll call them, hey, driver got there. You know, like, I want them to stick with me, not because of contract or because, I want them to stick with me because they like my work. You know, they respect my work. Not just because they like me as a person, but because they know that if they go to me, they can assure that their shipment will be on time and it will arrive in one piece. They have peace of mind.
There's no loyalty to you other than the relationship that they have with you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think like real estate agents and all that, they might have people sign contracts and contracts can always be broken too. You know, if things mess up, you can always break the contract. It might be good though. I've heard of some brokers doing that. I never have, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, how do we find a little small mom and pop company to try to work for? Google freight brokers near me. Just look for a small company. Go on their website. Like the company I worked for was called Load My Freight. A small company. I was the only broker there. Eventually, we had like 2 or 3 other people. Once I started to get business for them, they could hire people. But you just look up freight brokers near me. I might even be able to try and help you too. Maybe go on Indeed, because I know the old mom and pop I used to work for, we used to post job ads on Indeed. Looking for freight broker, looking for freight agent.
TQL is hiring, and they'll pay for you to move. And also Landstar, if you want to be an independent agent, Landstar will hire you as an independent agent.
TQL and Landstar?
Yeah.
Is it like an 8-week course for TQL? Isn't it like a...
Well, you got to go down there and start off as an apprentice.
Yeah, okay.
And but they will help pay for you to relocate.
Yeah, whatever way you can learn, honestly. Yeah, whatever way you can get,
And if you're trying to go to school, it's loadtraining.com. That's the first freight broker school in America. I went there about 12 years ago, and I'm going back in 2 weeks. So, and they'll send you your first lesson for free. They'll send you a free DVD or a USB for your first lesson.
If you like podcasts, Freight 360, the guy that works in my company, Pierce Worldwide, he has a podcast. Talks about everything about freight brokering, how to cold call, what customers to call, what different industries there are. It's actually good. I listen to it probably like five days a week, every morning. I listen to it even on the ride home from Ocean City while my fiance was sleeping. And, because I can't really listen to it around her. She gets a little, play some music. No, I gotta learn about freight, so.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, this one's pretty much done. Let's see what we got now.
So let's freight 360. Let's let them finish the complete presentation, and then we can go into questions because we're gonna have
I already
speakers.
talked about a lot of stuff, honestly. I can just skip through.
Well, you want to get through it.
Different ways to become a freight broker, like we were talking about. There's W-2. That's how a lot of people start. Unless you got a lot of money saved up, maybe like 50, 60 grand or 6 months of expenses, then you can go from, you can start off automatically at step 2 at 1099, but this is where you're probably going to start. A lot of these places will start you off at about 20 to 25 bucks an hour, and they'll give you about 20 to 30% commission off the net profit. Where I was, they started me off at about 5 or 10. Because I don't think they never had brokers before, so they didn't really know how to properly pay people. But once I started making more money, I realized that this is really what these bosses can afford to pay if they're paying you a salary. It's about 20 to 30% of that profit. So as a W-2, you might be able to make about like 150 grand a year, 120 to 150 grand, depending on how much business you have. Only problem is you're probably going to sign a non-compete or non-solicit. You can't take those people with you. Step 2 is 1099. That's where I'm at now. I've been doing this for a year and a half. I didn't bring any of my people with me. I had to start from scratch. So my first year doing it, I moved. It was about 80 to 90,000 in net profit, and I made about 60 grand in my pocket. I was proud of it. You know, I was making 120 where I was before, and my money cut in half. But like Sean was talking about, I lived the lower lifestyle. I was living below my means, and I had like 14 grand saved last year. Now I have almost 50 in a year. So I've been saving up my money. I've been even, not even using my, heat in the winter as much. I've been just bundling up. That's an example. But I've been living below my means. So yeah, first year I made about 60 grand. Now I'm ready at about 100,000. So as of today, I think I made like 42 grand in my pocket year to date. So that's after, yeah.
Now I do want to chime in on this.
Yeah.
I hate to use these analogies, but I know my crowd. It's just like if you go into an area where there's nobody at and you starting to strip from scratch. People start to come, and as time goes on, it builds. So that's what he's telling you he doing, just going independent. So, but you're going to be maxing out at millions.
Yeah.
I know. By the time you get 7 to 10 years, and then those customers stay with you for life.
Mm-hmm.
So while you on vacation, on the boat or wherever, they going to call and bow.
That's my goal, man.
So you going to get there.
That's my goal. Yeah, that's what my dad always says to me too. He's like, you think it's nothing now, but if you keep the same mindset after 5 years, it's really the little things that make a difference.
Most of the people that you see successful got 20 years in that industry. So there's no overnight successes. Even when you see people and they all of a sudden seem like they popped out of nowhere, you don't know all the groundwork they put in before you haven't even noticed them.
I went weeks without making a single dollar. I went a month almost. When I first started, I was stressed out, but I just kept working. But have you guys seen Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
A lot of people. Yep. You got to pick up the phone and you got to just start working. If your wife's about to leave you and you're stressed out, pick up the phone. You got to make money. Your bills are behind. You got to. You can't just wallow in your sorrows all the time. You got to get up, put one foot in front of the other.
And I always talk to y'all about translatable information and my same game, different things. So if you watch that movie, you'll see when he left Wall Street and he went to the smaller shop and they started moving penny stock. That's when he started making the killing. So I was going through the freight broker training the other day, and you know how something don't ring on you until you mature enough to handle it. So the last video he talks about, he said LTL freight is where you can make a fortune, and you confirmed it earlier.
Yes.
So some of the smaller freight, you making a bigger commission. You can make the same money off a 2-3 pallet load than you can make off a 48,000 pound load with LTL, and the LTL is becoming a little bit more frequent. So if you can hone in on that, I mean, this free stuff, nobody gonna tell y'all this stuff.
Anything you do in this, if you do flatbeds, you can make a lot of money. If you do 26-foot box trucks, you can make a lot of money. It's all about just finding your niche.
Yeah.
Refrigerated, shipping veggies, asparagus, you can make a lot of money, it's whatever. You just got to stick to something. Stick to something. If you find you got a knack for something, just go with it and find out later if it works, because it will if you stick with it. Did you have a question or something? Or was it you? Yeah.
So where do you find your clients at?
So, that's actually on the next slide too. Does anyone need, did I go over all this stuff for people?
Well, that's why I was saying, because a lot of the questions you may answer, and then it'll arrive other questions.
Yeah. Okay. Did you want me to answer that now? Yeah, I can answer it. So, a lot of times, what I did, Google, you look up, manufacturers near me, manufacturers in Baltimore, steel manufacturers in Baltimore, paper distributors in Baltimore. Just look up, look at what you see in a grocery store. You see juice boxes. You see auto parts. See all that. Just look up all that stuff. Auto part distributor near me. Auto part manufacturer near me. What else? There's a directory. Actually, let me go to that. Here it is. So manufacturing directories. like this. Thank you for bringing this, Sean.
You welcome.
These-
It just got it this morning, actually.
What are they, like $300 for the year? You got, it's like a yearly subscription.
Well, that particular model is $150, but this is a small estate.
Yeah. This has a lot of the manufacturers over in Maryland, and then each different state makes one of these. Like
Yeah.
PA
Right.
makes one, Virginia makes one.
Where you
But-
purchase
It's MNI, is that what it is?
Manufacturer's news is what it's called.
Write down MNI. It's called the manufacturer
News.
Yeah,
But
manufacturer.
I'm gonna
news.
speak about that once it's my turn as well.
Okay.
So, but you just look up the manufacturer's news. You can get it digitally or paperback. I like books.
It's good, yeah. It's solid. Yeah, you just run down the list. Literally just run down the list and find out later if it works. Another thing is called ThomasNet. That's basically like a big hub, and you can really zone in on what kind of companies you want to call, like steel companies or engineering companies, people that make like one-of-a-kind prototypes, and they pay a lot of money for those because they're one of a kind and they don't want anything getting damaged. So that's like a high-quality freight that you can get working with engineers, airplane manufacturers, aerospace manufacturers, all that stuff. You can pick an industry, go down and call it. And here's some other crazy blue book. Zoom Info is really good. That's like the best one. Zoom Info is the best. If you have some money to spend, it might be like $200 a month, but it won't give you leads, but it'll give you phone numbers and names for the companies that you're calling. That way you don't have to ask what so-and-so's name is. You already know when you call, like, hey, can I speak with Sean, or can I speak with Dan, or, and then a lot of times they'll give you that person's email. Cold calling. Like I said, cold calling that's the number one way. There's nothing else. You can do social media marketing, you can do other stuff, but cold calling, nothing will ever get rid of cold calling. There's no way around it, in my opinion.
Do you ever go in person?
I can count in one hand. I maybe 5 times. And I got one customer that I go and visit. I'll bring him pizza. One that I've already worked with.
Yeah.
But initially, I didn't have to go in person to get these guys. Sometimes I'll just stop by and might drop off like a gift card or something, or a Christmas gift. But in person, I've heard it works for some people, but I don't think it's as efficient as cold calling, because you can call 5 companies in the time that it takes you to visit one. I think cold call is the best. That's the best way to get rapport with people, build relationships. Very important, emails. So a lot of times these cold calls, the way they work, you go down the list, ring, operator answers your call, like, hey, this is Johnson Manufacturing. And a lot of times people will introduce themselves, like, hey, so-and-so, I'm Matt with Pierce Worldwide. I don't do that. I just say, hey, can I speak with whoever handles you guys shipping or logistics or freight? And a lot of times they'll just transfer me right away. Before they transfer me, I always try to get an email, like, hey, if the person in charge is busy, would I be able to get their email? 9 times out of 10, they'll just give me an email. Because very, very rarely you'll actually get a hold of that person in charge. I'd say out of 10 calls, you might get a hold of the shipping manager maybe once, out of 10. So most importantly, get that email in the beginning. Get their email, and, if the shipping manager goes to voicemail, maybe even leave them a voicemail. Hey, this is Malik with Pierce Worldwide. Can you give me a call back whenever you get a free second? My phone number is, blah, blah, blah. On voicemails, I like to be very vague and leave them on the edge. Like, hey, why is this person calling me? That way they call me back. I don't really give them a lot of info. Email them right after. Send them an email with all your information, a line card, all your stuff. That way, just put yourself out there and call them again. Because the key really is in the follow-ups. You got to keep following up with these people. You might not get something from just one cold call. I mean, I've got stuff from one cold call before. It's rare, but it might take like 10 calls, 10 points of contact, 20. I've had customers that took like 30 or 40 times of calling them to actually reach them and start working with them. So consistency is key in this. You have to be consistent. You can't just call someone once. You gotta keep doing it. You have to, even if you're not getting results, just keep doing it. You gotta work past your pain points. You have to. Did you have a question?
You said work past your pain points?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. You got to. What did Muhammad Ali say? He said he doesn't count his sit-ups until they start burning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Consistency. Really, just make your calls. And when you're if you actually get the people, if you actually get the shipping manager on the phone, ask them questions. You got to hit their pain points. Pain points are like, hey, this is Malcolm Pierce Worldwide. How you guys doing? And they, say, oh, I'm doing good. Hey, I just wanted to call and see if you guys need any help with freight. No, we're working with about 3 guys right now. We're satisfied. Oh, well, do you guys have any issues with them right now? Like, you guys, have any damages or really any complaints that you guys can think of with them? Well, we had a load last week and they came 2 hours late. Oh man, that sucks, doesn't it? Like, yeah, it does. Like, yeah, I'm sure, that 2 hours really makes a difference over time. Like, if this happens, a lot of times you're paying guys to just sit around waiting for a truck. Like, that cost adds up. Yeah, it does. Hey, well, I don't want to step on any toes, but if you ever want to shop around for prices, I'm here, man. Like, if you got anything over the phone I can quote for you, any usual lanes? Yeah, Maryland to California, I got this maybe once a week. Hey, well, if you don't mind, can I get your email after the call? I'll send you a little spot quote, and you let me know how I compare. And when you do those, give them a lower quote than you normally would. Instead of upcharging like 20%, upcharge like 5% just to get your foot in the door. Be like McDonald's and slowly raise your prices on them. Like, you got to get the business, you got to get your foot in the door. But yeah, just ask them questions like, what kind of freight you guys move? How often do you guys move it? What makes you guys choose a freight carrier? Is it price? What's important to you guys? Is it peace of mind, reliability? There's a lot of different things. Just be open. And during these calls, don't be a robot. You got to be yourself. However you guys talk to your friends in real life, that's the same thing here. However you guys make friends and relationships, it's literally all the same. Business and personal. There's a link between the two. It's at the end of the day, it all has to do with you and how you build your relationships. So just be yourself, be comfortable, and it will enable other people to feel your energy and be comfortable over the phone as well. So you gotta just be confident in yourself. Like, know that you're important and that someone's gonna need you. Someone's gonna need your services. You do a good job, and all that energy feeds off on them. They can tell that this person knows what they're doing. You gotta just hone in and be confident. Really, be confident and relaxed at the same time. Don't be too uptight. It's just a call. That's all it is. Did you have a question, sir? Did you? Oh, you were just doing a little scratch. My fault. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm sure a lot of people want to see this. I think I already went over it a little bit. But yeah, this is my revenue and profit. So this was my first year as a broker. My revenue was about $500,000, and my profit was about $100,000 after my first year. Had I been independent, I would have been making about $70,000 in my pocket that year as a first-year agent. Second year, it basically doubled. I was about 1.1 million in revenue, and net profit was about $200,000. So had I been independent, I would be making about $140,000 that year. And 2022, my company let me go after the eighth month in the year. But at the time they let me go, I was 1.3 million in revenue, and it was projected to be 2 million, assuming that everything stayed the same, and because my loads are pretty consistent. And my net profit, I was about $250,000 in 8 months, projected to get 375. So let's say in 8 months, whatever 70% of $250,000 is, that's what I would have had. So that's about $175,000 in 8 months, or $250,000 in a year.
So this is the question I got.
That was my peak. In that place.
Right. So aside from seducing you into the industry and giving you a little bit of back support as far as payment of drivers and having the bond and everything, they didn't give you much support as far as learning how to. So
I was hungry.
Right. So here's my question. Had you known what you know now, and you started independent and sacrificed that 3 to 6 months with no pay, by your second year, that $200,000 would have been yours.
Yep.
Instead of splitting it with the company. And then also, right, so I'm letting y'all into my mind, which is a sacred place. By that third year, you make $250,000 in 8 months, which would have mean you could have worked 8 months real hard and took 4 years off, or you could have worked and took a month vacation out of every season, summer, spring, winter, fall.
Yeah.
And you could have just grinded out and said, hey, you know what, I'm going to Spain, my phone's off, see y'all when I get back.
Yep. that's the one benefit about being a broker. You can travel.
Right, and see
You can go
that's
anywhere. I could be working in Uzbekistan and make money.
right, and that's the life in there. And then also, not to take y'all too deep into it, but when you start going to other countries, the wage scale is different. That's why when you call customer service, you hear a lot of people with accents because they figured out that they can go to different countries and pay people their country's standard while making American dollars. So I'm not gonna go too deep into that, but you can really go to a different country and really affect their bottom line when you start bringing American dollars there if you plan to pay them according to the American scale, which in some countries where we make a day, it takes them a whole month to make. And you really be a hero of that particular country. And I'll show y'all as time goes on how it works.
And so, in terms of revenue, I went independent. It was September of 2022. So really 2023 is what I consider. So my first year of being independent, like I said, my profit was about 80 grand, and I made about 60,000 bucks in my pocket. This year, I think I'm at about 60,000 profit, and I made about $40,000, a little over 40 grand in 5 months. So I'm on set to make 6 figures, and these are all my customers. If I want to leave Pierce Worldwide, where I'm at now, I bring them wherever I want. It's my people. I'm not subject to anybody. This is my business. I'm bringing to you. So, yeah. And so about 6 figures after a year and a half, I'm at 6 figures.
Why your company let you go, if you don't mind me asking?
Why would they?
I said, why they let you go?
I had a concussion, and I did wrestling, and I had bleeding in my brain, and I couldn't come back in a timely manner. I can't really get into too many details, but they let me go, and that's also why it took me a little longer to build up my business from scratch, because my brain was not like it was before. Like I had migraines all the time. I had to work in the dark, but I was still hungry, and even if I wasn't able to work as efficiently, I'm back to normal now, and I still did the work in the meantime, and now I'm making good money again.
That's what I was gonna ask you. You feeling better now?
Yeah.
Right, and then also one thing, y'all, I've been studying successful people for a long time. Whenever you meet a person that has broke through the barrier or worked through that pain point, which you talked about earlier, you'll always notice that they had major tragedy they overcame. So a lot of times when you go through bad situations in life, whether it's a breakup, a death in the family, a divorce, a bankruptcy, or whatever, a lot of times that's building the strength and character for you to handle when you come back. And a lot of times, even if you look at nature, it'll rain, and then right after the rain, the sun come out. So you got to keep fighting through it. Most people who have an easy path don't get real far. So cheers to you for fighting through that, and everybody in here that fought through their own personal situations. I know I did, but that's a true mark of a champion, the ones that don't quit, because life is going to test you. And I'm going to talk about that when it's my turn to get up there. You go ahead.
Quoting, I'll go over this quickly. So, let's say you make a cold call and the guy asks you for a quote on the first call. It doesn't always happen, but it's just an example. You'd be like, how much for a 53-foot dry van from Baltimore, Maryland to Los Angeles, California? And you get off the phone, you get his email, all that. The first thing I do is I find out how much a driver would cost. So I'll either call guys that I know, call local drivers out of Baltimore, like, hey, how much would you do for this load if I were to get it? I would do 3,500. I would do 34, 30, 36. Okay. And sometimes I'll post it up on a board. It's called the DAT board. That's basically where brokers and carriers, brokers will post the loads that they have, carriers will be able to see it, and carriers can post the trucks that they have, and brokers will be able to call them about the trucks. So I'll post up the load. I'll get calls like, I'll do it for 3,500. I'll do it for 36. So I'll have a pricing in mind, and then if it's a new customer, I might add like $200 just to get my foot in the door. So if I can get a driver for 3,500, I might quote them like 3,700, which is $200 profit. As I get to work with them more and more, I'll slowly approach up to that 15 to 20% margin. 20% is usually very healthy, because if you think about it, dispatchers are getting paid 10%, why can't a broker make 20% off a load? So if I'm paying a driver $3,500, I might add $700 on top of that and charge them $42, and then I'll be making $490. And it's not a problem. The drivers agree to a rate, the customers agree to paying it, and I know I put that work in. I value my product is my service. That's what I'm selling. I know I'm worth 20%. I know I put the work in on those calls. I can make $700 profit on a load. I'm able to. That's what I feel I deserve. Just like drivers feel like they deserve $2 a mile and all that. Like, it really all comes to what you feel you're worth at the end of the day. But yeah, 20% is usually healthy. Anything over that, I don't really go over 20%, but that's usually the margin that you try to strive towards. Did you have a question?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of people getting 50%, but on the LTL.
LTLs I do a little. LTLs I'll get like 30 and 40 sometimes.
Right.
Like for example, on Friday it was LTL from, I think it was Maryland down to Atlanta, Georgia. One pallet. It cost me like $150 with the carrier. I charged the customer $275, and he went with me. So LTLs I like to add a lot more because there's a lot more liability with those. They get picked up and dropped off at different warehouses, higher chance of being damaged. So I'm like, if I'm gonna work with this customer, I want to make at least something in case something were to get damaged or fall through. I'm not gonna risk a relationship over like $30, $40. I'm gonna LTLs I'll charge a little more, like between 30 and 50%, like you were saying. Good question. Quickly, the different types of trucks. A lot of customers will ask you, hey, can I get an FTL quote, full truckload? That's basically, it's like a 53-foot dry van, reefer trailer. I always used to laugh when I heard that name first. Yeah. Flatbeds, 26-foot box trucks. Another word for them is dedicated trucks. The only reason I'm saying that is because I didn't know what that was when my first customer asked me for that. Like, hey, can I get a dedicated truck? And I thought that meant like, oh, you want me to get a driver that's like dedicated to your load? Like he's excited to pull it. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And my boss was like, stupid. That means that the whole trailer is dedicated to their shipment. Okay, that makes sense. So if you ever hear dedicated, that just means full truckload. Less than truckload is another form. That's basically like carpooling for freight. Like if you got a customer that wants to ship a pallet, they don't want a whole truck. They don't mind if the trailer gets shared with other people's shipments, and they'll save money.
Excuse me, and just for them, in your history since you've been brokering freight, what trailer makes the most money?
Flatbeds and oversized. Flatbeds and RGNs, but oversized that's the top. Heavy machinery, all that.
But that's not as consistent.
I know some drivers that especially up in like New Jersey and those areas,
right.
They make a lot of money doing Caterpillar machines, and they said they get consistent jobs. That's what I personally haven't had consistent oversized work though.
I just did one the other day. I do them as often as possible, but the reason I'm telling y'all this is because a lot of people call me and say, man, freight's down, the rate's down, and then I tell you go and do flatbed, and then you say you don't want to do it because you don't want to get dirty, you don't want to talk and all of this, but will and won't. Want and won't don't go in the same sentence. You can't say you want more, but you won't do what's required. So I'm telling y'all, I learned this at a class I took 12 years ago. That's why I chose flatbed. So when I'm passing people on information, I'm not just talking out of my ears. I pay people to teach me stuff, and then I come and give it to y'all for free. And then if you don't use it, and then you can't complain about something, and then you can't go to the doctor because you had a stroke, and then he give you the diet you need to take, and then you don't take it, and then you pass away. And, you can't complain about it when you get the solution and you don't use it.
So it's like flatbeds, they make the most money, then 53-foot dry vans right under, and then, 53-foot vans and reefers, I'll put them at the same level. Then 26-foot box trucks make less, and then Sprinter vans would be like, I put them at the lowest amount of money.
You think step decks make more than traditional flatbeds?
Yes, yeah. Actually, yeah, because you can carry some
oversized loads. I know. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But the step deck is going to be in the flatbed family, so and the comparison is, you can have a reefer load that hauls produce, and you can double that trailer with a dry van load, depending on the load. It's the same difference with a flatbed and a step deck. You can do flatbed loads with a step deck if you have a load leveler, but it gives you the extra option. So the step deck would be a higher grade flatbed class. So it'll put you in a position to make more money the same way a reefer would in comparison to a dry van. It's in the same family.
What about if a driver just got a tractor?
Power only?
I don't suggest nobody ever do that.
Yeah, I don't know too much about power only loads, to be honest. I've maybe done 3 in my life.
If you have to do power only, then stay on the operator until you can save up to get your insurance down payment and rent a trailer. Don't activate your authority without a trailer, and don't buy a truck without a CDL. Those is rules. So because you're gonna get a power only and just have the truck, then you're fighting for loads with everybody else that don't have. And also it's an enclosed community. So if you go on the load board, you may only see 12 power only loads. That's because the brokers are already dealing with their normal people that they deal with. So they don't have to post them because it's more of a demand because they don't have trailers. Now, if you have already done it, there are, I've been running out a week. You can get loads and get a trailer from that load. And they'll pay you to move it. And they'll say, well, you got 10 days to hold this trailer. JB Hunt does it a lot. And you can do loads in between there. My mind, somewhere else. It's been so long. I can't even remember what the name of those trailers are. If you see a empty trailer move and it's only paying $50, but they'll say that you got 10 days to use it. And some people will give you more time if you continue to do loads with them.
You mean like, yeah, it's like running like a drop trailer sort of? Like not really. Yeah.
I forget the name.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've done it. But don't do it. Save up and get a trailer or rent one, or ask somebody to borrow you one. I mean, once you get your authority, if you running within 90 days, you should be able to get a trailer if your cost of living is low.
That's very important.
So, we got another speaker, brother Paul is back there.
Yeah, I'm honestly pretty much done. I'm just not need it.
Y'all got some questions y'all want to ask? You take, 5 questions or
Yeah, I
whatever.
can just take questions at the end. I know I talk. I got ADHD.
Oh, you staying?
Huh?
You staying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit because I got it.